If you've been running ads for your e-commerce business, you will understand that the attribution for ads is pretty fucked. Honestly, you look at it and you're like, what is going on? What does this mean? 1 + 1 does not equal 2. And the ones that don't understand this are really going to suffer long term if you're not already. Okay, so I'm going to go through exactly how to look at this properly, exactly what I'm teaching my clients in my paid programs, the Ecom Blueprint and Uplevel Mastermind, those doing multiple 7 figures per year. Understand this thing I'm going to talk through with you today. So my name is Will DeBruin. If you don't know me, I co-founded an e-commerce business in 2013 with my brother. We bootstrapped it, we left our corporate jobs, and that business has since gone on to do multiple 7 figures. So I've been in the industry for 13 years and I've mentored over 250 e-commerce brands as well. So I'm pulling that straight from this program to give to you today. So with attribution so all over the place, it makes it extremely difficult to know what decisions to make next based off of what data. So I'm talking to you as if you do have some idea of what ads are and obviously how to run them, whether it's Meta, Google, or any other platforms like TikTok, Pinterest, etc. And you need to understand, I guess, what's not traceable, what's not trackable, and then what actually is. Okay, so I'll use a few examples to fill in the picture. It's easy if you're running ads on one platform, say it's just Meta or it's just Google, but then it does become way more difficult when you're doing multiple marketing channels. Okay, so what I want you to understand just throughout this as I explain it, and I'm kind of picturing it in my mind as I'm talking, is that you have ads running on Meta over here, and let's just use the example that you're running on Google, over here. So you're spending on 2 platforms. What you traditionally do, and this is what I would always recommend and advise, is that you start on one platform at a time, because then you know the true impact of that one variable, let's call it, right? If you started both Google and Meta ads at the same time, even if it's $10 a day on each, for example, and something goes well, you're like, great, it's all working, but you don't know exactly what it is. If it goes badly, then you're like, okay, which one's struggling? You don't actually know which one it is, right? So that's why we start on one and the other. That's the same method we use when we're actually scaling our ads as well. We only scale on one platform at a time. But when you're spending on one, it's very easy to see the bigger picture, which is, okay, today I started spending on Meta ads, or this month I started spending on Meta ads. I spent $500, $1,000, whatever your threshold is. And this was the impact it had on sales. Now, when you've got one platform, you'll actually understand that there are discrepancies. Okay, you will see that you've got your dollars in, you'll see the sales that have come through Meta, right, in the ads platform, and it's an attribution window of 7 days, and then you'll see your Shopify sales at the end of the month as well. Now, of course, there's going to be Shopify sales from emails, as you're sending emails, organic efforts, influencers could have driven them, or PR campaigns could have driven, or just content could have driven, that's fine. That's what we call a, obviously multifaceted marketing effort, okay? But again, the variable of launching ads, you'll see the impact of running those ads. Now, hopefully it's positive in your circumstance. That's obviously what we're going after. You're definitely going to get more traffic because that's where ads are really, really good. But where they purchase is obviously down to the details of how the ads are run and what you're actually, selling and your target demographic, etc. But I won't get into the weeds of the actual ads. I'm talking about the spend. So you'll be able to see really categorically how many sales really were attributed to it, because you just compare last month to this month. Now, what you'll probably see is that I'll use a unit of 10. You might say 10 sales in Meta, right? But then you'll see an increase in sales of, say, 15 or 20 in Shopify that you can categorically say came from those ads. Okay, now, hopefully it's as clear as that. But as I say, if the only variable is that you put on Meta ads, and that was the end result, then you can see there's a gap there of, let's use units of 5. So there's kind of like a missing units of 5 sales there in a positive way, because the sales in Shopify are much more important than the ones in Meta. But you can see the discrepancy there. Now, what people can do, if they're not familiar with ads or experienced with ads, is that they can basically falsely attribute sales to other means. So it might be a point where Meta reported 5 sales, but your sales increased by, say, 20 in this month. Now, I've had this before. When I was managing someone's Meta ads prior to my mentoring program, I had the instruction from someone who was pretty similar circumstance to that. They had reported 5 sales through their ads, but they had reported 20 sales that month, or in addition to. And they said, well, look, we can't afford ads, or we don't want to run ads. We think we're getting way more traction over on this side, so we're going to cut the ad spend this month. They were really penny pinching. They weren't seeing the bigger picture. I said, yep, no worries. Look, you're the client, happy to go and do that. And we cut it for the next month. And what happened was their sales went to 0. Okay, so what was happening there, and I explained this to them obviously after the fact as well, is that the spend was contributing way more than what Meta ads was actually reporting. It was actually the blended metric. In fact, it was most of the metric at the end of the day driving all of the sales. These sales over here through the influence and the emails weren't actually occurring if the ads weren't actually running. And so the wrong decision was made there. And I honestly just wanted to see how it played out. I was under the instruction of them when I was managing Meta ads, which I did for, probably 100 odd clients over 3 years before I started the program. And so I just wanted to really see it and test it basically as well for them to see it in real life, basically. I'd been through that circumstance before, so I knew it to that extent. I probably didn't forecast it was going to be that dramatic, but that's what we saw. Okay, so what I'm saying there is we couldn't trust the data in Meta. Okay, we had to use what we call the blended metric, right? On the other end, the blended ROIs and the blended CPAs, which is our ad spend divided by the total number of sales that come out the other end through Shopify, not actually through Ads Manager. Okay, now this becomes even more important when you're running multiple channels of advertising. Okay, so if you're running, let's call it Meta, and now we're strap on Google as well. Okay, when we start the Google ads, the variable is going to be that we started Google ads. That's what we're going to see at the end of the month. Okay, I put in $500, $1,000 to Google ads this month. What did that have in terms of impact on Shopify sales? Okay, now that will also positively contribute to Meta. It'll contribute to emails, organic, etc. So you can see how complex the reading of the metrics can get as you strap things on. Now think like 5-10 years ahead with your business. When you're at a multi-million-dollar level, you've got even more channels, you've got even more marketing efforts, more people running things. You can see how a complex system on a very small scale, or don't even bother on a large level. This is why we talk about simplicity in scaling, complexity basically failing. So when a small scale, you need to start really simple. You need to understand the simple concepts. And 1 + 1 is not going to equal 2 when you look at your ads managers, respective of which ones they are. As I say, thinking in the future, if you've got multiple channels, it's even more important to be looking at our blended metrics. Okay, I spent this on Meta, I spent this on Google, I spent this on Pinterest, I spent this on PR campaigns, I spent this on influence, I spent X, Y, Z, and it could be 5 or 10 different sources. Which one drove the most sales? It is basically impossible to see. But as long as that spend through our total marketing efforts is a hell of a lot less than what we get out the other end, meaning our data through Shopify, then we're okay. Right? As long as we know which variable changed that month, then we're also okay. We know what we actually changed and what contributed to the increase in sales. So I've got to be honest, like tracking is basically fucked. It's really hard. Even using like a Hyros or Triple Whale, it makes it easier, but still there's always going to be data that's missing. And so you must be involved in your numbers. You must know your numbers, and you must know what is a discrepancy, what is being hidden or blinded, what is falsely attributing. Okay, because if you don't, you'll be like my Meta ads client, 5 years ago, probably now at least, who just wanted to turn off ads, save themselves some profit, but then they shot themselves in the foot because they weren't making any sales the next month. And they were on a very low, like startup level, but it can happen on all levels as well. We see it all the time when it comes to, okay, I'm spending 10 grand a month on Meta. I'm spending 10 grand a month on Google. Oh, Google's getting amazing attribution. That's driving all the sales, is what the data says. Right? They pull out 5K from Meta, they put into Google, so it's 5 and 15. Same thing. Their sales fall through the floor. Even though Google was attributing high revenues that month, Meta was underreporting, right? There wasn't any bigger thought about the bigger picture there. It was a dramatic change, which they saw the result, but contributed to a downfall in that month, a really dramatic downfall, and it was panic stations for a long time. That is a really common thing that I've tested myself a lot of times and have a discussion with clients all the time as well, is we need to know what's what, we need to know what is contributing to what, and we can only know that when we test certain variables at certain times and have absolute control over that. And then have understanding of our holistic numbers about how the business is operating, okay? Knowing where the deficiencies are in attributions, okay? Even from those, as I say, master platforms like Hyros and Triple Whale, okay? So look, I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to, help you understand that tracking is all over the place, fucked in another term, and that you can't take it at its word. You need to understand, you need to get in the right rooms with someone who's got experience like me or like other people, like other advertisers that understand business entirely, not just the Meta Ads guru, not just the agency that runs Google Ads. They need to have an objective view of your business and a holistic view of your business and understand what drives what. And that starts with you actually tracking properly, okay? And then understanding where the discrepancies actually are to know what will attribute or contribute to what when you go and change things. All right. So I just wanted to share that message. I wanted to bring that to your attention. I know it's pretty, dramatic way of putting it, but it is actually true. And as I say, I can just share with you my experience in the last 13 years that especially since the iOS 14 changes, which I think was about 2021, 2022, things have gotten worse and are getting worse because privacy is becoming a lot more strict and a lot more talked about and a lot more important to people. And there's a lot of easier ways for people to stop their tracking and turn off any ads data, for example. Okay. So look, I hope this was valuable for you. If it was, love a like, love a subscribe. Thanks for watching this till the end, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.